What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another Pitching Ninja's Filthiest Pitches of the Day. Remember, before we get to those pitches, hit that subscribe button. Join Ninja Nation. And now, without further ado, here are my Filthiest Pitches of the Day. I'm going to start with Logan Allen, who had 4 strikeouts in 6 innings, giving up 3 earned runs. He had this nasty changeup and wicked sweeper that apparently was labeled starts for some reason on the White Sox broadcast. As far as I know, that is not a new pitch type that we all missed. It's just a typo, I hope. He battled Dylan Cease, who had 3 Ks in 6 innings, giving up only 2 earned runs, and had this elevated fastball and nasty knuckle curve. Taj Bradley had 7 Ks in 4 innings, but gave up 4 earned runs, and had this nasty cutter, as well as his fastball and changeup. And here's an overlay of his fastball and changeup, and you can see why those two work well together. He tunnels them, and you get the swing and miss on the velo difference. He faced Jose Barrios, who in 7 innings, giving up 1 earned run and had 5 Ks, in part due to his changeup and 2-seamer. Kyle Bradish had 3 Ks in 5 innings, giving up 4 runs, and had this wicked slider and changeup. And he faced Garrett Cole, who only had 2 Ks in 5 innings, giving up 5 runs. But those 2 Ks were his 1999th and 2000th career strikeout. Congrats to Garrett Cole. Alex Cobb got 8 Ks in 7 innings, giving up 3 runs, and had this nasty 2-seamer knuckle curve. His ERA now on the year is 2.17. And he faced off against Sonny Gray, who had 6 Ks in 5 innings, giving up 2 runs, and had this painted front door 2-seamer, these hammer curveballs, this nasty changeup. Also messed with timing here a little bit, and got the K. And I freaking love this sequence with Vasquez calling for a sweeper off the plate. You see him even wave his glove there. And that sweeper is taken for a ball. And then what does Gray do? He follows it up with a 2-seamer that runs back to the plate. Here's an overlay of those two. And you can see why that tunneling is so effective. I talked to Sonny Gray about this type of sequence, and he said it's one of his favorite things to do.
One of my favorite things to do is freeze a hitter with 2 strikes with a fastball, knowing that you've done some spin or whatever. So now it's just like they're looking for spin or something. And you can just tell, this is like when you're telling like a hitter swing or whatever. And then they're kind of like, you throw that slider that's like this far off the plate, and you might have thrown another one. And you're like, I don't know, that was a little too close to take. Like, to not even flinch at it, like you've got to be giving up on anything that starts away. I spin the ball away so much, like you've got to be giving up on that pitch. So now it's like, you get a shot at it, right? So now you're like, and that's when it just becomes making one pitch and executing one pitch. You throw a slider and it starts here and it goes to here and then the outside corner is here. And you're like, how did you not go at that? So now you throw the 2-seam that starts here, knowing that they're like, that's away, because like being supinated, everything moves away.
Sonny's ERA this year is now 1.82. J.P. France had these fastballs and curveballs and had 8 Ks, giving up 1 earned run in 5 2/3 innings. He faced Colin Ray, who had these fastballs and sweepers and had 4 strikeouts in 5 1/3 scoreless innings. Luis Medina had these vicious sliders on his way to 4 Ks in 5 1/3 innings, giving up 3 earned runs. And he faced off against Marco Gonzalez, who had 4 Ks in 6 innings, giving up 2 runs and had this changeup. Mackenzie Gore had 5 Ks in 4 2/3 innings, giving up 3 earned runs, ran up a ton of pitches in those 4 2/3 innings at 103. Gore had this overpowering 99-mile-an-hour fastball. I didn't check, but that's one of his fastest fastballs of his career, and also had this wicked slider and curveball. He battled Yu Darvish, who had 4 Ks in 6 innings, giving up 3 earned runs, and had these nasty splitters, overpowering fastball. And then I did this overlay of his fastball and splitter, and you can see how well he tunnels those 2 pitches and why that splitter is unfair when tunneled with that fastball. Dick Mountain had these curveballs on his way to 9 strikeouts in 5 1/3 innings. He did give up 5 earned runs, and faced Nathan Eovaldi, who had a complete game with 5 strikeouts, giving up only 1 run, and had this slider, splitter, as well as overpowering fastball. Mike Myers cut down hitters like he had a hockey mask on and had 8 Ks in 4 2/3 innings, giving up only 1 earned run, thanks to his changeups, his curveballs, and his slider. He faced off against Eduardo Rodriguez, who had 9 Ks in 5 innings, giving up 2 earned runs, thanks to his fastballs and sliders, and even got this White Castle special. Matt Strahm had 3 Ks in 2 innings, giving up 2 earned runs and had this slider, and he battled Ryan Nelson, who had this sinker. Adam Wainwright had this pretty curveball and had 2 Ks in 5 2/3 innings, giving up 5 runs, and battled Graham Ashcraft, who had 7 earned runs in 5 innings with 5 strikeouts, but he did have these nasty sliders and even got a knee buckle on one. Griffin Canning was outstanding with 5 strikeouts and 7 scoreless innings, giving up only 2 hits, and had this changeup and sliders. And he faced Brayan Bello, who was nasty himself, and had these sick 2-seamers, dirty changeups, and had 6 Ks in 7 innings, giving up 2 earned runs. He pitched really well, and definitely has been making a jump to the next level with his pitching. Yuri Perez had 3 Ks in 4 1/3 innings, giving up 3 earned runs, and had these curveballs and sliders. Another young pitcher doing well. And my feature matchup of the day were 2 other young pitchers, and both of them did really well themselves. Bobby Miller versus Spencer Strider. Bobby Miller was outstanding with 5 strikeouts in 5 innings, giving up only 1 earned run. His fastball was up to 100 miles an hour, just overpowering stuff, and he also had these wicked sliders as well. Here's an overlay of his fastball and slider, and look how far those pitches end up. That isn't very fair, is it? They start out tunneled, and you got to cover that much plate. Bobby Miller's come a long way since he asked me to give him a shout out on Twitter during the shortened college COVID season because he wanted to make sure he got seen for the draft. Well, now the whole world's going to be seeing him because he is going to be one heck of a pitcher. And he battled against my filthiest pitcher of the day, or let's make it a co-filthiest pitcher of the day, Spencer Strider, who had 11 strikeouts in 6 innings, giving up 2 earned runs. Strider had 11 Ks, and this felt like kind of an off night for him. He, of course, dominated with his fastball, but also had these vicious sliders and this nasty changeup. And here's an overlay of his fastball and slider, and you can see why that combination is so tough on hitters. Just think how hard it is to hit 100 miles an hour, and Strider's fastball is special because it almost kind of feels like it rises. It makes you as a hitter have to make a decision really quickly, and then if you get that slider in that same tunnel, you're hosed. Now onto my filthiest relievers. Yennier Almonte had these sweepers. Luke Raley Cade Vladdy with his little chuck and duck style. Of course, in his next at-bat, Vladdy got better. Mark Leiter Jr. had this filthy splitter. Phil Maton had these frisbee breaking balls with 22 inches and 21 inches of break. Gregory Soto had this 6 slider. Aroldis Chapman threw this jet fuel with 103 mile an hour fastballs. Dylan Covey had this sinker and got a KO on it. And I love the stand up to cancer in the background. We all should stand up to cancer, but you fall down against Dylan Covey's sinker. Kendall Graveman had this 97 mile an hour heat. Jacob Webb threw these changeups. Aniel De Los Santos had this gas and then got fired up. Camilo Doval had this 101 mile an hour heat and sliders. Yennier Cano had these filthy changeups, but my filthiest reliever of the day yesterday was Michael King. King had these dirty changeups and sinkers, this sweeper that broke 18 inches. And then I love this overlay where you hear me always talk about tunneling. Well, this is kind of like funneling. Look how far apart these pitches start out, and look where they end up. Great stuff from Michael King. And now, my pitching ninja moment of zen. The other day, Will Brennan killed a bird with a batted ball. So sad. And then, yesterday, he hits a home run and salutes the legacy of that poor bird while running the bases. What a beautiful moment. What is up, everybody? My picks of the day today are a 3-leg parlay. I'm going to start out with Michael Kopech for 5 Ks or more, then take Shane McClanahan for 6 Ks or more, and top it off with Bryce Miller for 6 Ks or more. What would your picks of the day be?